Welcome to Mitten Music, the show where we talk about music from our great state of Michigan, all over, all kinds of music, all kinds of people, all kinds of stories. Jeff, how the heck are you?
Doing well, Ryan. How are you?
Miserable.
Yeah, not a good day.
Just the snow, just a couple little flakes of snow. I was not happy. Kind of bummed me out. Thought we were done with that crap.
Yeah, it's coming strong for a couple days. So
yeah, 4 to 6 inches or something like that. What did I hear?
Yeah, something like
Friday.
That. Yeah.
Craziness. Oh well, we actually have.
Let's talk music.
We have a guest here. Guests tonight.
Live. We haven't had a live guest
It's been
in a while. We've done a lot of remote ones lately.
Yeah. We are so thankful for Lucius Fox to be here with us in our serial killer studio in the suburbs of Grand Rapids, Michigan. Thank you, guys.
Yeah, welcome.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, all right.
We got Paul
Right
and
off
Jeremy.
the
We got Paul and Jeremy here. These guys
And this
are
is
so awesome.
the full band.
Yes.
Yes.
Sometimes
We're all
we
here.
sometimes we get a full band, sometimes we get a couple people, but this time we have a couple people that is the full band.
It's great to have you guys here live because, like I said, we've done a lot of remote ones lately, which it makes sense. It's just hard to travel the state and all that stuff, but glad to have some people live in the studio again. This is awesome.
It's cool. It's a cool space. Thanks for having us.
Yeah, it's great to be here.
Yeah.
So, guys, we're just going to get down to it because I have been listening to your music nonstop since I saw you at Pyramid Scheme a couple weeks ago. So we did a live stream. It was a day or a couple days after that, I think.
Yep.
Mainly we talked about it. We've talked about Carbon Decoy a lot on this podcast. We've talked about Ficus several times on this podcast. We've talked about Old Mountain Acid Test quite a few times on this podcast. And then I'm seeing the poster we have right here, right, from that show. And the only band I didn't recognize, I'm like, Lucius Fox, what is that? So, it was cool that there's a show we got to go to where 3 bands that we already know and they're local. Like, great, awesome. You know, we're getting to know more bands out there and getting to see them and know what we like. And when I see a name that I don't recognize, I'm just like, cool. I have to make a decision right then. I'm like, am I going to go check them out and listen to some stuff and check out what's going on? Or am I just going to go there and see what happens? Almost always. I don't think I ever have done what I did for that show. I usually look everything up and listen to a bunch of stuff. And I said, I am not going to look up anything. I didn't look you up on Spotify or nothing. I just we'll see what happens. And boy, was I blown away.
Thank you.
I was about to say,
so
I'm
kind.
like, right when you said I usually don't do this, I was like, please, you didn't look us up, did you?
Nope, I didn't. But if I would have, I think the more excitement came from in the moment realizing.
Well, yeah, not saying oh man, their recordings suck. They sound like crap. No, I think we sound good. Not to toot our own horn, but not knowing what's gonna come and then just seeing, all right, just a 2-piece, and then. Whoa! Okay, that's what they do now.
And it's not just that; it's
Right.
that is my kind of. That's I love. As I'm listening to you, my favorite thing is what do I think they sound like, and I'm curious what they think they sound like in other people. So I'm thinking right off the bat, I'm like post rock, math rock, some I wouldn't say sludge, but some heavy. I don't know. I was thinking a couple things, and sure enough, when I go read I was guessing half of the describers you already used to describe yourself. I was like, yeah, these are my guys. Sorry, Jeff.
That was
all that out.
I know you did.
I've been
That's
holding
good.
it in.
Because we were talking about this after, math rock. I will be honest, I've never heard of it, and I was like, "What's math rock?"
What a
Ryan?
dork.
He's like,
What a dork.
he had
How can you
to
not know what
educate
math
me.
rock-
He had to you kind of educated
I
me, but you really
generalized
didn't.
it, yeah.
You really didn't, though. I don't
Because
think
it takes years to understand math. Jeff. No, I'm
it's
just kidding.
calculus rock.
There are a lot of genres out there. It's you can't know everything.
Well, dude, now it's literally some of the subgenre. When you break it down, it's a paragraph of just explaining what all genres they hit on. I'm like, I don't care what people put it. It's just it's just what it is.
As long as you can recognize a couple, so you're in okay, is this country or metal? As long as I
Right.
can
It's
Right.
not just I have no idea
Exactly.
what's coming at me.
right?
Exactly. I will say that the show, and I thought this was awesome, and I actually think, especially more local bands or bands that aren't on that bigger stage. You guys said, come close to the audience, basically, come on in and a lot of people, stand back, especially if you've got a lot of room in the audience. I thought that brought a lot more energy. It's huge, and I don't know if you guys do that all the time, but
I feel like we try like
We
some
did it that weekend. Like we did that the next night too. And like,
yeah, we played Paw Paw the day after.
yeah.
I feel like too with most bills we're on at least has a couple bands that do have vocals, so people kind of can generate out. So it's like when it's nothing, it's like, hey, like come up close and feel the music, like get into it.
I didn't even think about that, but that makes sense for sure.
Yeah.
We've also spent a lot of time in like basements and garages playing those sorts of venues, and so we're used to just kind of like the closeness of that.
So yeah, it's like
type of
it
stuff.
could
Huddle
be
up,
too big.
guys.
It's like, wow, this is a very big room. You can fit lots of people in here.
And it's just not every day you get to play the pyramid scheme.
Yeah.
I was like,
yeah.
snap, let's get these folks up close.
Yeah.
And then they did it, which is pretty cool.
I felt like when you said that, it sped up the vibe of the whole rest of the night. Like it would have got there during your set. I think it just would have taken several, maybe even another song or two before people kind of gradually, like I probably would have myself walked closer after I like heard how hard it got. But just you sped it right up because everybody's like, oh yeah, let's do this.
Yeah.
Awesome.
I have this issue myself where I really struggle to sit down at shows. Like, I feel like a lot of the shows that I end up being at spaces like the size of the pyramid scheme where you can get right up in there. But then I'll find myself seeing like a bigger band that's at like Van Andel or something like that.
Yeah.
And I'm in the nosebleeds and I'm like, man, this is weird. I have to sit here. Like I want to headbang and all that.
Dude, imagine seeing Tool like in nosebleeds like that.
just-
I've done it several times. It sucks.
Yeah. It's
But-
tough.
Yeah.
I also
Definitely.
want to have a savings account too.
Right.
So whatever.
Give and take.
Sorry, Jeff. I know I'm dominating.
No, you're not.
I feel like I am. I'm just.
No, not at all.
I have.
So let's dig into it, guys. Let's find out a little more about Lucius Fox. So 2-man band, no vocals. So how did this thing start?
Okay. So I went to Michigan State. I'm from Kalamazoo originally, and I went to Michigan State when I moved back home to Kalamazoo to try to find a job and just start, I guess, like real adult life. I started jamming with a buddy of mine from elementary school, middle school, high school, this guy named Alex Guzman. And we just started jamming, and it was really just kind of like singer-songwritery stuff with guitar and drums, but we both were really into like progressive metal and stuff that got down a little bit harder. So it just kind of morphed into that. I played with him for a couple of years, and then he wasn't able to keep playing in the project anymore, and I wanted to keep doing stuff. So I played with another dude named John Fleming for about a year, and we kind of kept doing the same sort of stuff. And then again, he couldn't play music anymore, and I was just like, man, we're starting to get like things happening. I'm really happy with the kind of music that we're making.
Yeah.
And Paul and I had been playing in a different project, and we'd met probably a couple of years prior to that just by playing shows. Then I was just like, Paul, you want to play on Lucius Fox? And then we just sort of exploded from there. And that was in the very end of 2018. So we've been in this iteration going pretty hard for about 5 years now.
Okay, so so Lucius Fox though the band concept has been around longer
For a while, yeah.
for you two got
What,
together.
like
Okay.
8.5?
Like 10 years actually,
dang.
which is kind of it's like in line with when I started teaching. I'm a teacher, so
Yeah.
we started doing this band like right around my first year of teaching. So
Wow. That's right. Dang.
yeah, but it's I don't know, it's kind of like taking on different things, and I feel like we really kind of like hit our stride and sort of clicked. I don't know, like I mean, just me and Paul just like meshed really well together, and I feel like that kind of like it's kind of like a crucial point, and it's been its own beast since that point.
Yeah. We were talking earlier how it is a different dynamic to have two people in your band with creative input versus maybe 5 or 6, where I could see like if, I've heard some members of bands like maybe they're not that a part of the songwriting, and they're like, hey, give me maybe it's the drummers, just like play whatever and I'll figure it out and we'll make it up as we go. And not really part of much else. For whatever reasons, maybe doesn't have enough time as the rest of the guys or whatever. But when you get several people that are creative, they all want their input. It's like, I have to imagine it takes so long to like get a song crafted to where you want it to, where with 2 guys, I mean, I'm not saying it's easy, but a lot less laborious than, 5 minds working together. And it's just you just get at things quicker. You can maybe get a decision made faster.
Yeah, just
definitely.
less voices. And I mean, we're very much, I feel like, on the same page with a lot of things. Most of the time it just ends up being like, how could we make this harder? How could we make it faster?
Yeah.
We get like a baseline,
Yeah.
and then it starts getting like, okay, this part is kind of like this part. So why don't we keep this part the same and then make this part a lot harder? Like let's do a lead over this and then
Yeah.
maybe like do a tapping part with the synth part. Cool. Okay, let's
There
do
aren't
that.
enough layers yet. How can
Right.
we make more layers? How can we fill up more space?
Well, that's interesting that you say that. So, Jeremy, you play guitar, and I mean, would you call it a synthesizer, a keyboard, like, or do you have different tools up there that you're using, instruments?
It's just it's guitar and synthesizer, and the synthesizer it's a mono. I guess it's not technically a bass synthesizer, but it's a mono synthesizer by Behringer that's, I think, modeled after some famous 80s mono synthesizers. But most of the time it acts as like a bass kind of voice.
Yeah.
Although we've got
fills it out.
Yeah, as of right now, we've got like one song where there's like a little bit of a lead that I do with it. But then I run guitar, and then I split that between 3 amps, and I have an octave pedal that makes it sound like a bass that goes to a bass amp, and then I run 2 guitar amps, and I do a lot of looping and layering and stuff with that.
That is, we caught that at your show. That is crazy cool.
Thank you.
That is something different, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're doing a lot more than just playing the guitar up there. You're there's
Like you walk, if you just stumbled into the Pyramid Scheme that night and saw these guys, you would have thought like there was 4 guys up there playing, but it's 2.
That's
Right.
the goal. I mean,
It
we
is
just
so
like
cool.
it's like a fun challenge to try to sound as full as possible with a limited, like having limitations and having to exist within those limitations and work around it is just, it's a really fun way to play music. It's been, I think, over the years we kind of keep leveling up and finding more ways that we can kind of push the envelope with that.
Sweet.
Yeah, that's cool. The guys are always up for a challenge, it sounds like.
Yeah. It's kind of like this is hard things, the band, I guess.
And Paul, you're I mean, the songs aren't short in a lot of cases.
No.
No, I think like our last full length had like 2 that were under 4 minutes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know.
That sounds about right.
Yeah.
And like
Right.
the ones that were under that were like blast beats most of the
Yeah,
time.
just
So
like, let's go.
it's
as
not
hard
like
as we
they were
possibly can
easy.
for 2.5 minutes. Okay.
Yeah.
Because Paul, I mean, I watched a couple of the, we're watching their song, you play, and like the songs that I'm like, he's drumming his ass off. Like you're just
intense.
going and going and going.
He's a monster.
Hard. It's like you can see how hard.
And I think you guys played maybe was it 3 or 4 songs that night, but they're long songs, so it fills up
I
the
think
I
set.
think it might have been 5.
I think it was
but
5.
Was it
that
5? Okay.
The middle block was straight. Or no,
we did like
we did 2 that were
Wait, back to
straight
back.
through,
Yeah.
and then
2
2 that
blocks.
were straight through.
Okay,
And then
so it
one
made
was
it
the
seem
one
like
at the end.
yeah.
That was 11 minutes. So
Yeah.
that might have seemed like 2, and the other were probably seemed like 1. So you're like 3,
Yeah.
maybe 4.
Right. And not hearing, like Ryan, I had not hearing your music before. I didn't know where the breaks were in those songs at that
Right.
point. So, but yeah, you're sitting here pounding away, and I'm like, man, you got to be number 1 in shape.
Dude, it's terrible because we always just talk about like,
This is
Man,
going to be
we're
the
gonna
year
get-
that we
we're
get in
gonna
good
get-
shape.
we're gonna get jacked, we're gonna feel great, and then it's like, man,
You wanna have a
we're
hot and
gonna
ready
Taco Bell.
for dinner?
You know, it's
I'm so
always
tired.
just like shit.
Yeah.
So I mean, we're getting there, but it's a very slow process. It is funny. I am surprised because like I don't take the best care of myself, but like however long we have to play, like I can push myself through it.
Yeah.
I think it's adrenaline, 2 just having fun, and 3 just getting behind the kid. Like I'm used to it,
Sure.
but it's just like anything else. It's like carrying groceries up a flight of stairs. And I'm like, hold up, I need to use my inhaler.
Yeah,
Which
for sure.
It is funny. There are shows where like I have this with me all the time. There are shows where it's like hold on. I
Gonna
know we're supposed
sustain
to be
this
going
note
like
for a
right into
second.
this.
Yeah,
Just give me 1 sec.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
we're good. Go. But yeah, I think it's just feeding off adrenaline, luckily. Because otherwise I'd probably be like, we're playing 20 minutes and that's it.
Yeah.
That's the
Yeah,
longest I can
right,
do.
right.
Shorter songs, Jeremy.
Never.
I was gonna say no.
Absolutely not.
So, I mean, we could jump all over. Like, I'm just gonna start going things that pop in my head.
Yeah.
I'm I would hope you guys are working on newer stuff right now, or somehow, way or form, right? I'm hoping you're gonna say yes. I mean, you could tell me no.
more than an hour and a half ago. we were jamming.
Yes, that's what I like.
I will say, it's always like, oh, I got ideas when we haven't recorded the album that we're working on yet, and then it's like we're recording this and we already have 2 songs in the bag. Like, it's a very fast process, but I think it's also with the 2 people.
Yeah,
you can do that. If both of you are kind of like on the same page, which
exactly, if you're both wanting the same thing out of what you're doing, and it's a lot easier to just get stuff done, I guess.
Yeah, and you guys have pumped out a lot of music in the last 6 years, right?
Yeah, and I'm really proud. We have basically put something out every year. I don't know if we're gonna get that this year. So last year we had kind of a crazy year. So I had back surgery in March about a year ago.
Oh wow!
And that took us out for a little bit. And then Paul broke his finger. So like we were out of the game for like a number of months in 2023, but we recorded our last release, Medicia Sedera, in May, and then we kind of like between those things happening, and then we put it out at the end of the year, last year. But we're writing. We've got a ways to go before we're gonna be ready to record. But we put that out last year. We put out a full length, and we were calling it an EP, but it's like a half hour long, and you have like hardcore albums that are like 15 minutes.
Yeah, right.
I don't know, like nothing really matters, but we put out a full length for us in 2022. We put out an EP in 2021. We put out another full length in 2020. So I feel like we've been fairly prolific, or like as much as we can as like 2 dudes that have regular jobs and
right
life and whatnot.
Legit, like since I started, it was about a year before we were able to put out something, but that was a full length.
Yeah.
So that was 1 year being the band full length, and it was
Dang.
ever since then it was full length EP, full length EP, full length.
But there was history behind you guys, so
we had some momentum. Yeah.
Hopefully that helped you. Like, it's not like you had met each other and then 1 year later.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, 'cause like you've been percolating this for.
Well, yeah. I mean, we just like by being existing.
Yeah, I think that's why it's working,
and
right?
Can play show. Yeah.
Well, it was funny because we met when I was in a punk band, but like I met Alex, their first drummer, through
like
watching them
shows,
and digging Lucius Fox, and then it was like, okay, like I just knew that I liked them, and then we ended up playing like a lot together over like a year and a half, just the bands. So it was started getting to know each other, this and that, and then moved back to Kalamazoo. Like he said, we started jamming on other stuff, and then Lucius Fox.
Yeah, we were like jamming kind of like a folk project that I was doing by myself, and then I booked this show, and I was like, man, I don't want to play by myself, so I asked a bunch of my friends to play with me, and then Paul was part of that crew, and then we just very quickly the jams of that band became like weird, like heavy, like spacey Mars Volta psychedelic
spacey
stuff, and very quickly departed from the folk thing. But I was just like, man, like this dude's a monster. It'd be cool to play crazy stuff with him as well. And then now we do that. But
so Lucius Fox really has changed. It's like evolved its sound from the very first when you came up with the name.
Yeah,
it's a lot different today.
Definitely, yeah.
Isn't it? That's crazy. That's bonkers.
So you guys, it sounds like you guys have played in a lot of different type of bands, maybe different genres as well. So kind of maybe name off some of that. What's your experiences? I mean, you said punk for you.
Yeah, I mean, it was started playing in middle school, playing drums. It was a neighbor and another kid in my neighborhood that I was friends with. They just were like, hey, we're trying to form a band. You want to play drums? And I was like, never played drums. I'm sure. Like, and I don't want to be like, oh, it was fate, but I went home. My mom was a dental hygienist at the prison in Jackson.
Okay.
And
yeah.
I was like, hey, you think I could maybe play drums or like check out getting drums? And she's like, oh, a guard at work he was in a cover band. He played out bars. My mom had seen him a bunch of times, and he literally told her that day that he was selling the first kit that he had from his 70s, like starter kit with everything. If you knew anybody who was trying to fly, and I was like, wait, really? She's like, yeah. So the next day when we went out, he gave me a crazy deal. Like it was an old Dixie kit, so it was like jazz size, but starter kit, everything I needed, all the stands, an old like 70s Zildjian crash, Zildjian ride, hi-hats for like $250 or $275.
Wow.
And like I didn't know the deal I was getting, but like and then it was just like off to the races. I was like, hey buds, like I got a drum set, and they just like brought their stuff over. They're like, hey, do this. And luckily it was immediately that I could at least do just hey.
You had some rhythm.
So it was like we made 3 songs, but everyone was hi-hats. Chorus time, switch to the ride. All right, guys, yeah, let's go.
I mean, I feel like some people can't even do that. So, good for you.
Friends who have been like, hey, teach me how to drum. Like, some of them like come in and I'm like, hey, yeah, that's pretty good. And then others I'm like,
wow, oh, yeah, you don't like your arms and feet don't work like that, do they?
Or maybe you can, but get an electronic drum set, get some headphones, and try it at home.
There you
go. But yeah, that was the beginning, and then like that was. Early 2000s, so that was pop punk stuff, indie emo stuff, like that was in that realm. And then it graduated to faster, weirder stuff. I was in a 4-piece band called Tigris, which I was actually pretty proud of, but that was another instrumental, and that was real weird, like kind of sometimes dancey stuff, sometimes it kind of reminded me of like Minus the Bear kind of style stuff, just without any vocals.
Is Minus the Bear from Michigan?
No.
I think they're from the East
Bars
Coast,
of Gold is from Michigan. I saw them play together. That's why I know. Okay. Yeah, that's right. Bars of Gold is from Michigan, but I saw them. The only time I saw Minus the Bear was with them. That's
nice.
That just popped in.
Quality math rock right there. Minus the Bear.
Yeah, exactly, Jeff.
There we go. It's all adding up.
Did you do that on purpose?
No.
That was all. Oh, what?
Oh, you got it?
Sometimes I get a little too heavy on it, so I tend to just not do it anymore.
I'm surprised you know which button it was.
I honestly, I guess I knew it was the bottom row. So, anyways, so you guys, back to my question, what I was asking earlier. We never finished it.
Which one was that?
You guys are working on new music. You've been practicing. If you had to guess, if you could say when you would like to put out your next piece of whatever it might be, EP, even if it's a single or whatever, when would you say that might be?
That's hard to say.
With no consequences if you're wrong.
We really want to put out vinyl. And that gets problematic because it's expensive and there's like the lag time with getting it produced and whatnot. But probably we'd like to put it out towards the end of next year.
Okay.
Like 2025, trying to be realistic.
Cool.
I feel like we have a lot of work to do, but if we could record at the end of this year, I feel like it'd be reasonable to put it out towards the end of next year and do a good job with it and everything and promote and book some cool shows around it.
I'm surprised at how many bands actually do have vinyl, like, because I know it's expensive. It's kind of mind-boggling sometimes. I'm like, dang,
it's tough. We've had some really cool album art and stuff, and it's like we always want to, but it's just this like dumb push to like, no, we got to get this out, and then it's like we don't have any money, so we just got to get it out however we can make it work.
When it's always like, oh, the recording, oh, new merch for
shirts,
this.
yeah,
like shirts, stickers if we can, or posters, something, and then it's like, all right, vinyl, what do we got left? Like $200.
Yeah.
Okay, we need a couple grand more.
That will
exactly. Can't do much. But yeah, I mean,
as far as recording goes, what you guys are on that? Where do you guys record, or how do you guys do that process? We've heard so many different things from different bands. So
was it for 3?
So we recorded our most recent album with a guy named Chris Frankhauser in Kalamazoo. He runs a studio called Ray Gun Recording. It's in his house. He has a really beautiful control room and some good spots for isolating sound. And he crushed it with this recording. We're really, really proud of how it sounds. Yeah. Previously, we've recorded with our buddy Brendan Infante, and he's had a couple of different spots where he records. But we did our last full length, the EP before, and the full length before with him. And he's a monster, very talented musician, and just really good audio everything. Mm-hmm. And then prior to that, me and the other two dudes that I played with, we recorded with a guy named Jeff Hostetler, who's in Kalamazoo, and he has like a recording studio set up in his house as well, called Red Obsidian Media. Ooh. So we basically just a lot of friends. We kind of met Chris through recording, or I actually met him through recording with a different project. But he's become a really good friend, and it was a blast working with him on this last whatever it is, EP or LP. But it was a really good time getting to know him and getting to hang out and record with him, and he crushed it. And I'm really happy with how it sounds.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it turned out great. It was just a nice change up, because like Brendan was great, but it was like 3 times of like still trying like a few different things, but it was like kind of cool, same process, kind of got comfortable, I feel like. And then with this, there's a little bit different, different style. And it was like, okay, this is a nice little change. And then like I said, like the process.
I kind of push ourselves, I guess, because we're just like really good friends with Brendan. And I think we kind of were like, yeah, like, I mean, me at least, I'm like, I'll just record this over and over again. But going kind of like just like a new relationship, just sort of like, I want to make sure I'm impressing this person, like playing my parts right the first time. I mean, I still didn't, and I still had to record everything a million times. But the idea was there, the intent was there.
Right. I got a totally random question, unrelated to what we're talking about. Could you each name me an album by an artist that you feel like was the most ahead of its time? Every once in a while, I feel like there's like Failure, Fantastic Planet, like in the 90s, like to me, like that was so ahead of its time back then. But even since then, like a band called Tiny Shiny Toy Guns, the album Season of Poison that came out in 2008, such a weird album. Like it started including a lot of electronic stuff in some rock, and it got a little poppy, but it didn't fit in. Like they had radio singles on the previous album, and I don't think they had much success at all with this next album, but I loved it so much. But then after years thinking, I'm like, I think like I hear music today that sound like, wait a second, like those guys were doing something, what I'm hearing today that seems like be getting popular, 15 years ago or whatever. I'm like, I felt like that was so ahead of its time. And I'm just curious, like guys like you might have thoughts about that as well. Cause I don't know, just that seems like a question that you would entertain. I don't know. Maybe not. I screwed it up. They're like, I don't know, buddy. I don't know.
Silence.
This is tough. I'm thinking about it in like 2 parallel ways in my head. I'm trying to think of the one that
there's no rules for this. It's cool.
Makes the most sense, like broadly. But I think it was inspirational for me in a lot of ways that probably wouldn't be super apparent in the kind of music that we make. But the album Graduation by Kanye West. So I'm not a huge fan of Kanye West these days. He's a pretty bad dude. But as a high schooler and a middle schooler, like when his first few albums were coming out, those were huge for me. I mean, they were huge, giant, like hip hop albums. But that album in particular brought in like a lot of like kind of vintage sounding synthesizers and really open reverby kind of sound. And I feel like that kind of like spawned a whole like blueprint for how a lot of like hip hop sounds now, and like it's just like echoed through like a lot of the production and the way that kind of music sounds these days. But I feel like I noticed it at least like first on like that album, and then the one that came after that, 808s and Heartbreaks.
Was the Jesus Walks one on Graduation, or was that a different one?
That was on his first album, which was 2 back from that. But but yeah,
for some
banger, excellent song.
Yeah,
classic song.
I know other ones too, but I'll have to revisit that album.
Yeah, Graduation's great. It's a pop hip hop album, and all the songs are relatively short. I really like I always get the name wrong. I think it's My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy. Which
that sounds about. Yeah, that sounds
I feel like that was like his peak. But just like the gratuitiveness, just like all the songs are like 6 minutes plus long. Ooh. It's got pretty much every single song has like multiple features on it. That's kind of the energy that I hope to reach for with the new Lucius Fox. Is just like these monster
out of the box.
How are these guys doing it? Like, this is a lot. What are they doing? What's wrong with them? They're crazy.
Jeff, are you getting chills, man?
Like that kind of feel.
That's cool.
Not so much in terms of like sound, but just like ideology, I guess, with it.
Yeah.
That's awesome. I like that.
That was cool.
Paul, I don't know how you're gonna follow up with that, buddy.
I don't even have an album that spawned into that. Like, I'll catch you later if I think of one. Because I'm just like,
Fair enough. That was good.
Well, maybe we can kick it to you, Paul, in the way of like influences. I mean, it seems like you guys have a very wide influential in music, like just in general. So what are some, maybe Paul, for you, like what's some key influential musicians or artists for you?
It's funny because I mean, he mentioned Kanye West, but like even before I was drumming for most of elementary and like middle school, I was just into hip hop.
Okay.
Like G Unit, Outkast, like those were like my biggest. That's 50 Cent. Like I was just like, yep, that's what I listened to, and then
Bombs over Baghdad.
But it was when I, kind of started hanging out with the buddies that I joined the band with. The beginning was, I mean, Modest Mouse is still huge for me.
Okay.
Cool.
Their drummer, like they've had several, but their main guy, like just like some of the stuff that he came up with, Trucker's Atlas, especially like just the drum beat is just so like, what is going, like for me it was just like, this is so crazy. Like it's just like I would never think of that, and that kind of just opened my mind of like, oh, you don't really have to do straight beats.
You don't have to follow rules, man. You can do whatever. You can hit that thing however you want.
Yeah, it was. So I was just like, okay, like so that opened up, and then it was slow going, but like it opened up to like, I mean, I feel like we're both kind of. He listens to, I think, a little bit heavier stuff than me normally, but like we both listen to kind of everything. Like Daft Punk's huge.
Oh, I love Daft
like
Punk.
the Spawn that they've had.
Yes.
Like poppier or dancier.
I like a lot of the French techno-y, EDM-y, like, generalizing a lot, but I like a lot of that stuff.
I feel like a lot of the times in the car, if we're driving to a show, it'll be like kind of dancey music.
Like, getting in a good mood. Like a metal show that like we're on the bill for, and then it's like,
yeah. Well, if it gets you in a good mood, why not? I mean, that's what pop music is, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, like what I would specifically remember in Grand Rapids, I forget where we were as a pub, but like we put on Parcels for like the whole night.
Oh my gosh!
If slow groove.
If y'all don't know Parcels, they're
Parcels.
I haven't known.
So they sound a lot like the last Daft Punk album. And Random Access Memories.
Yeah, like I think the last album, like their last full length before the one that they just put out, was produced by Daft Punk, or like one of the members, I think, of Daft Punk. Like, was a producer on it, and
it's so good. They're a phenomenal band. We went to go see them a couple of years ago, and it was just, the musicianship was insane.
It was, where was that at?
It was, I think it was at the
I thought it was the Majestic Theater.
Yeah, I think it was at the Majestic Theater, because the Majestic's near
the smaller one.
Yeah,
like
with the bowling alley.
Yeah.
It was great. They're really good, funky, great pop music.
Where are they from? Any idea?
They're from Australia, but they're based out of Berlin.
Yeah,
out of
interesting.
I think they were, when they were in Australia, they got signed in Germany.
Oh, okay.
And then they
kind of migrated
to like record, and then I think like after a year,
they're like, well, that's good. Yeah, we're moving.
Yeah,
fair enough. That's cool. Interesting.
That is cool.
I like. I really got into Justice like through Daft Punk. Like I started learning, like I didn't know any, like I grew up in high school. It's like the harder, the faster, the better. But if it was a slow song, nope, it's terrible. I don't even listen to it. It's terrible. Like none of this techno stuff. I was like, none of this country stuff. It was just hard freaking rock is all I cared about. And then slowly I kind of broke that mold and entertained other things, but I think Daft Punk, and quickly after was Justice, I got into it. I just, those two bands, they're in there, man. It's good stuff.
I feel like I actually might have started listening to Chemical Brothers before Daft Punk.
Oh yeah.
I think it was like very shortly before Daft Punk.
In the 90s, yeah.
Chemical Brothers, and I was like, oh, I was like, this is awesome.
I remember. Yes, it was like, yeah, I remember that. Like when Black Rock and Beats came out, it was like right before that. I somehow like I was at Believe in Music or Sam Goody or something where you could listen to different albums, and I was like, what is this guy? And I just put it on, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Chemical, like this is weird. It wasn't something that was on the radio I listened to, and maybe it was on other stations. I don't know, but and in that I feel like that was more of a start to me getting interested in techno and like breaking down my walls of being the hard rock guy.
Right.
Heck yeah.
It's funny how you get that core, but then you learn that there's a lot more out there.
Yeah, you could probably ask my mom, and she'd be like, "I can't believe that Ryan knows Taylor Swift songs and sings them with his daughters all the time, and he loves it because that was not him 30 years ago."
Right, for sure. So as far as live stuff goes, how often do you guys play out? And what's kind of
I was about to say if you averaged it, it would probably be 2 to 3 times a month.
Yeah.
I feel like, but like we go in spurts because like we have something lined up in June where we have 5 dates.
Yeah.
Like it's, just a little tiny tour, but it's like, hey, we got like this stuff lined up, and then it's like we try to do a couple of those.
I think we've been really good about that this year so far. Like we did in February, we did like a back-to-back weekend with our friends in Infinium that are based out of Traverse City, and we played up there, and then we played in Grand Rapids at Turnstiles.
Yeah, we like Turnstiles.
Yeah, Turnstiles is great. And then we did the weekend that y'all saw us. We played Pyramid Scheme, and then we played in Pawpaw, small. That's the town where I teach actually. But yeah, like west of Kalamazoo. We did that back-to-back.
Did a bunch of kids come see you?
Yeah, there was like at least like a core crew of cool kids, band kids.
Did they know what they're in for before they went?
To an extent, but it was actually really cool. We got to have a couple students play. They were the opener for the show. There was 3 bands that played, and then they opened as well. I mean,
cool.
So there's 4 bands technically, but a kid that was in my astronomy class.
Oh, that's cool.
And then a kid that I had a couple of years ago. They were another duo, and so it was really cool to get to play with them. And I was just like, hey, I need you guys to keep this pit going.
Right.
But it was a blast. It was really cool. I mean, a lot of those kids don't really make it out to Kalamazoo, so it was cool getting to play in a spot that was close by.
Yeah. That's awesome. Heck yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, we I don't, like Paul said, I think probably usually like 2 or 3 times a month.
I feel like it's funny because I feel like the busier we get. I know it's like
just building connections with people and
someone will ask this.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
You guys asked us to come,
which is great
from seeing us. But like a lot
of
times it's a band or someone who's in another band who was just coming to a show. They'll end up reaching out on Facebook or something, be like, hey, saw you guys at Pyramid Scheme at this show, at that show, and then would you guys be interested in a show at blah blah blah? And
so the word of mouth is doing work.
I feel like
I think it's huge for this level of music. Like it's really good to be like part of the community and like get out to shows and make friends and just, I don't know. For us, it's been really helpful just like building community and building relationships by just enjoyment of music, whether we're playing or just watching shows.
Yeah.
I feel like the quality, I don't know if I'll be describing this right. The quality of your music is, in my opinion, so far above the average local band that you'd run into. Like, I don't know how you're not having people calling you like every freaking day. Like it's bonkers to me. It is.
Thanks.
It's like, really nice. It's hard for me to believe that a band that I can really enjoy and get into and really like, and then I get listening to them and I'm like, oh shit, these guys are really freaking good. They're good musicians. Because I'll listen to something a million times and think things about the song and wonder this, that. Where I was getting with that is that is just, it's just such it's a high caliber of what I'm hearing. You don't think someone that's somewhat local to you, you're going to get that lucky to have that. Not only is it a style of music you like, or, you really vibe with it, but they're that good and they're local to you. It's like, that doesn't happen. That's like, to me, it's kind of like winning the lottery. I feel like In the Valley Below is another band. Like I started listening to them years ago, and it was like a year or two before I realized, oh, they're from Grand Rapids. What the heck? A couple years later, we started a podcast, reached out to them. They're the first band we interview. And I'm like, so cool. What? And I'm like I am tonight, like just fanboying out, and it was because they are like what they do is awesome. It's just so far above like what I think of a local band, and it's maybe that's another mold I'm breaking down because you never know where this awesome band is going to come from. Next door,
right?
California, China, like you don't know.
But I think we are working on breaking that mold a little bit. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we have been,
and I will
still
admit,
don't like
we've talked to different people though that are kind of sit outside of the Michigan scene and are like, this isn't happening everywhere. Like Michigan music, and what's cool, I think it's cool. It's not like, okay, I think at least in my day and age, okay, the grunge from Seattle, there was something special in Seattle and there's something going on, but it was all similar music. Michigan, I feel like it's all over the place.
Yeah.
Like Lucius Fox,
across the board,
completely different than a Penny Priscilla or a American Hotel System or Billy Strings or all these different, and there's just so much. But it's cool to see the variety of genres and how, like to Ryan's point, the quality is really good. And I want to see more people go out and see live music
for
again.
sure.
Yeah.
Yes,
because the Pyramid Machine, even though I thought it was a great crowd the night you guys played, man, it should be full.
Yeah,
it should be full at the place down the street. Everywhere
it should be full. So the next time you come around, you have to go to freaking 20 Monroe or something. I don't know, something bigger.
But I mean, even that. But it's just like there's so many venues, so let's fill them up and get live music back. It'd be sweet.
Absolutely,
definitely.
So.
I feel like, especially, I mean, we haven't broken like East Side much, but like there are great bands on the East Side, but like Kalamazoo and Grand Rapids alone,
right?
Just those two, like there are so many insane bands that, like, just when we're on bills with them, we're like, this is insane. Like we just sit back and watch like 2 or 3 other bands, and we're like, dude, we got to play with all these bands tonight. This is insane. Like sometimes just like, what
I think
the hell? Like, this is
we're
insane.
both like just very huge music fans in general, and I think that's like, I don't know, like part of what makes this project cool is like we just both. I mean, I guess it might seem obvious, but we like love music, and like you'll at a show usually you'll see us like in the front, just like getting down, and we don't really man our merch booth very well because we're just like watching the music.
Like ain't nobody got time for that.
It is funny.
Come find me or don't. I guess. Maybe that's why I don't have any money.
I feel like we're legit. Like it's usually the full band is buy their merch, trying to like kind of chilling, ready, and like it's just. I usually take 15-20 minutes before we start off, so like the band before us, like it'll be like halfway through their set usually that I'm like, all right, I'm gonna kind of go buckle down, but other than that we're usually just like in the front,
in the zone,
like,
we saw you guys, we saw
you were in the front row.
Yeah, it was, I mean, it's just that's the best way to do it. And like when we call people, like that's how it's like, get close, like the band isn't going to bite.
Yeah.
Or most bands aren't going to bite.
The guitarist from Ficus, the lead guitarist from Ficus was crowd surfing. I got a video of him crowd surfing during Carbon Decoy right at the end. It was like, like he was doing the same thing. Yeah, they were chilling. That was right before he was going on.
Yeah, you guys are part of the show as the performers, but then you're also part of the show as the audience at the same time. So it's just really cool. You could go hide back and go sit back and not do anything, but everybody's in and everybody's supporting everybody. That's what's really cool about it. Talking about venues though, where do you talk about playing a couple times a month? Where are some of the places you guys really have enjoyed playing? In the state or outside the state, wherever?
Kalamazoo is kind of notorious for having a really solid DIY community and house venues, and there's a number of those that are it's just a different kind of feel, and they're always a lot of fun to play. So we've done a lot of that. Bells in Kalamazoo is like a very cool traditional venue. It's just beautiful sounding, beautiful visually, and then just amazing sounding room. We really like playing there. Mm-hmm. There's another spot in Kalamazoo called Papa Pete's. It's kind of like a just tried and true pizza bar.
A Papa Pizza.
Yeah,
it's a Papa Pizza.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Hey, it's a pizza.
Famous. It's the bands get a pizza. Like
that's great. Yeah, no, it's amazing.
That's awesome.
But obviously, like the Pyramid Scheme's amazing. That's like my favorite venue to go to. So getting to play there always feels really cool.
I have every time I get a chance to say this. For so many years, I worked on the other side of the wall where the drum set was, On the other side of the wall, there's another business there. My desk was right there for years.
Crazy.
So like 4:00 Wednesdays and Thursdays, you hear doop, doop, doop. I was like, yeah, someone's getting ready to warm up, and I'd go over there so often to just check his stuff out.
That's so
I just
cool.
had it for it was I loved the pyramid scheme.
Talk a little bit about the DIY or the house parties. I'm really interested in that because I have heard that a few times, and I don't know. Can you kind of? Okay, I envision in my head.
I was going to say, what do you think of when
I was
hear
back
them?
in college? We had house parties, and a few times there was bands. So I'm thinking in my head this college. I'm sure it's a little different than that. So what is the kind of the?
Is it a frat party or is it a guy that has got a house and he's like, hey, a band want to play here and a bunch of people want to come over?
Basically, more so that, honestly. It's
interesting.
So usually they're houses that are rentals, and a lot of the time, not all the time though, but there'll be like a crew of folks that live there, and they'll host shows on a fairly regular basis. Like most of the time it'll be a touring band coming through. So there'll be like a band from out of town that's playing, and then there'll be local bands to support. And it's usually donation based, and just like a lot more word of mouth. But just really just celebrating the music. It's not, I mean, people will be like smoking and drinking and whatnot, but it's not like a party where people are going to get like hammered.
Yeah.
Most of the time.
That's not the main
The music
thing.
is
It's
the
like we're
focus.
going
Yeah.
for the
So
music.
so it's not a party with bands playing there. It's someone setting
it's a
a
show.
concert.
Yeah.
It's a show that
In
just
a
happens to
basement
be
or
in
a
BYOB
garage.
if
Yeah.
you want.
It just happens to be in a house.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Yep.
That
Yeah.
takes extra like
It's a very noble thing.
yeah, that's like not an easy thing to pull off.
It's
Multiple
No,
different reasons, I
I'm
would
gonna say,
imagine.
especially like some of these houses are prolific, where it's just like they're regularly running 2 to
Wow.
3 shows every week.
yeah.
Like, I mean,
Wow.
some of them it's just like, what the heck? But, like now it's slowed down a little bit, but I feel like especially before COVID, there were some where it's like, what? How do you?
How do you sustain this?
Yeah, like how are you having shows? All
I've
the
not.
time?
Yeah, it must be like I mean, I feel like I don't know if we're roughly the same age, but things we've referenced, I'm like, oh yeah, so whatever. But I feel like I never saw that or heard, like even today in Grand Rapids, I don't hear about stuff like that. But then again, I'm in the suburbs and a dad, so maybe
Well, I'm just
not
wondering. I'm
close
wondering
enough.
though if that's because now I know Kalamazoo's adding some more venues more recently, but I was wondering if that's because of the shortage of true venues in the area.
I feel like it's been strong for a long time. Like
it's
before
like-
I even
Really?
moved to Kalamazoo.
It's been a thing since before I was
So
involved
probably
with it.
At least me, I know for a fact, at least 15 years.
Wow.
Because when I was 16, 17, 18, I was driving out because friends' bands were playing in
there.
Kalamazoo. And not saying it's not super strong now, because it is, but like if I could say like top 5 crazy turnouts and this and that, like most of them, like at least 3 of them would be like when I was a teenager. But
Wow.
I do remember those were a little bit sloppier too back then. But like there was one that's called the Fat Guy House, and there was Fat Guy Fest at Shakespeare's. Like it was kind of a big thing. But like they would have huge punk bands, and it was like you'd show up early. At least I would, because I was like, I just want to see all the bands, and it'd be like, oh dang, the basement's pretty full. You'd stay down for the first full band. You'd come up. You'd have to squeeze by people. You'd open up to the driveway and there's 50 people out there and you're like,
Wow.
oh, what the heck? You'd go back down for the second band. You come out, there's 150 people in the driveway and the house is full. So you're just like, I have no idea how many people are here.
Yeah.
Like it's just
Dang.
ridiculous. And it's just like,
That's crazy.
all right. So it was like, yeah, it ends up being like,
I had
you
no
either need to
idea.
get to the basement or you're just going to listen to the span like from
From the
upstairs.
driveway.
It's like
Yeah.
Taylor
Just like,
Swift.
ah.
You gotta go stand outside the arena.
Yeah.
That's
Luckily-
crazy.
Luckily, that was only like $5 to $10, not 250.
Oh,
for
yeah.
where seats
Right,
possibly
right,
right, right,
right.
however much.
Exactly. Well, yeah.
That's a level we're aiming though. Taylor Swift or bust.
Yeah,
We're gonna have
we're gonna have a
tour.
lottery for our shows as well.
That's pretty cool though. I love that you guys talked about that and just that there's this thing.
I had no idea. That's cool.
Yeah, and I
How-
mean, there's a few. I mean, there's quite a few houses, but there's a few. I mean,
I wish I had that. I wish I had experienced that at
Yeah.
some point in my life.
I mean, I
that
went-
kind of stuff.
I mean, I went to
Just
Western.
Fair, yeah, fair.
Drive
Hey,
it down.
thank you. For,
Yeah.
yes, you're right. You're
This is
absolutely
a
right.
cordial
Yeah.
invitation
You
from
are
Lucius
right.
Fox to come.
Either
Yes.
that wasn't happening when I was going to Western, or I
Yeah.
missed out. But there, of course, like I said, there was the Club Soda and some of the other venues around back then. So maybe.
Well, I know I went to Michigan State, and there wasn't nearly the same kind of like that kind of scene. Like there was bands. I was in a band when I was in college at Michigan State, and we had like one house show at our house, and it was definitely a different kind of thing. But it's just it's been a interesting thing that I've always known Kalamazoo to have. Like there's always like at least like maybe like 4 different houses that host shows.
There's like the ones. I mean, there might be one-offs every once in a while, but there's like these places that are almost kind of like established, right?
Or maybe they fold, but then someplace else pops up.
Okay.
Takes its place.
I feel like you usually like if it gets going, it's usually like 3 to 5 years that like someone from that, or like it can kind of exchange through friends that we're moving in, we'll keep that going. But most of them, it's like some are just like handful of shows and it's
done.
done. But the good ones that start getting good shows, it usually lasts a couple of years and then they move away or fizzles out. And it's like okay.
I think it's impressive they bring in, if they got people traveling through and they catch them, right? I get you get the local bands, but
we had Portrayal of Guilt played a house show in Kalamazoo in October, I think.
At Hockley.
Yeah,
that was right before.
We went. Yeah, we saw Ed Hockley. They're a really, really good band. I don't know if y'all are familiar with them.
Ed Hockley?
Yeah.
Is he a referee for the WWE?
It's literally, but they just.
But one word.
Ed Hockley.
But
I like it. That's cool.
That's the reference.
Awesome.
That's cool.
The jacked reference.
Yeah.
It's hilarious because whenever you Google it, it always separates it and brings them up. Like, no, the band.
But they're one of the best live bands that I've ever seen. It's intensity at its fullest. But we saw them in a basement in Kalamazoo on like March 10th or 11th. It was I think it was the 11th. It was like 2 days before everything shut down in 2020.
Oh, really?
And it was just like things were like, man, things are not looking good right now. And then 2 days later, like I got sent home from work for the rest of the school year.
Right. Weird times.
But like that was crazy seeing that in like a basement with like 5 other people.
Like legit.
Like seeing this
not
insane
many people,
band.
and we were just looking like, how are people not
here? Right.
And then like it sucked because like they were on tour and
yeah, they had like
I
a
think it was
2-month
like
tour
1 week
planned or something.
after they were like, well,
Done.
This happened, so we were heading home. And yeah, like they were like 1 week into it, or like 2 weeks.
Oh,
so like they had a while that they were still going to be, and it was like,
right.
All right.
And you guys got to see it.
Yeah,
we've been lucky to see them a few times at like venues where it's like
we're just like
this is insane.
this
like,
distance
awesome.
away from
yeah,
like
it's just like
How'd we get so lucky?
yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Heck yeah. Something I was meaning to ask a lot earlier, and it's kind of past the point where it didn't flow with the conversation, but I love the names of the songs, the names of some of the albums, the like I think of it as a thematic. There's a theme to it. I can see. What can you talk about that? Where do you get, whether it's the inspiration for it or why is it? It's very spacey, Jupiter, Europa, Io,
Yeah, I mean a lot. I'm a science teacher.
So I feel like right there is probably a crux of
the
it.
bulk of it. That's the answer. No more conversation. But no, it's like I just have a lot of interest there, and so with this EP, I remember we were done recording and everything, our last full length, and this was like June of 2022, and I teach an astronomy class, and I was watching kids give presentations about planets and moons and stuff, and a kid was like presenting about one of the Galilean moons, which are Jupiter's 4 big moons, and I was like, man, that's really cool. Like I've written stuff about space before, but I kind of want to do it again. So I was just like researching those moons and then Jupiter, and just like finding all these cool facts and like thinking about ways that I could write music that like had some sort of connection to that.
Ooh.
And then just kind of built it from there. And like there's just some like themes that occur throughout the whole thing that pop up multiple times, and that just kind of came from just me being a nerd and wanting to write music that sounded like cool things are. I guess.
No, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Heck yeah.
But yeah, and like we put out an EP a few years ago. There's a song called Basilosaurus, and I was working on my master's degree, and I was reading this book on evolution, and there's a chapter on whale evolution in particular, and there's a crazy prehistoric whale that I have on my arm.
Whoa, I don't.
That's awesome.
But it was when they first discovered it, they thought it was a dinosaur because they were all working off of incomplete fossils, and so it got a dinosaur name. And I guess there's a convention where you don't change a name once it's been given.
Yeah.
So even though they found that it's a mammal, the Basilosaurus was a really gnarly prehistoric carnivorous whale. So I remember just reading about that and being like, Paul, we gotta have a song called Basilosaurus.
Heck yeah.
And that was like major pandemic times. I remember just like sitting on my porch with an acoustic guitar and just like, what are the nastiest riffs that I can come up with that sound like a big mean whale?
They would have to be big and heavy, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Large and in charge.
Yeah, just that's where a lot of it comes from.
That's cool. That was, I didn't know what I expected to hear as an answer, but that was awesome. I liked it.
So I have a quick question. We kind of touched on it quickly. You guys don't do vocals. Is it ever come up that you guys wanted to do vocals? And another question more so, why just instrumental? Which I think it's cool, but at the same time, I think there's probably some reasoning there.
I think, I don't know. I really like instrumental music for one thing.
Okay.
I really like post rock.
Yeah. This Will Destroy You is one of my favorites.
Yeah, they're amazing. I want to say they're playing Post Fest in Indianapolis this year.
Yep.
I was going back and forth about going to that or going to see Caspian, and so I Watch You From Afar, 2 other instrumental bands.
And So I Watch You From Afar is probably one of my top 5 favorite bands.
Have you seen them?
Never. No, they're from like Ireland or Scotland or something.
They're gonna
Europe.
So they're playing Post, and they're also playing in Detroit the Sunday after with Caspian. Who
oh yeah, I know who Caspian is.
Please go. I'm gonna go.
Whoa.
I'll see you there.
Yes. Ooh.
Both are phenomenal live bands. And So I Watch You From Afar.
Gangs is like my favorite album.
Yeah. They actually played in Kalamazoo in 2015 as a part of the Audio Tree Music Festival. And it was
yeah.
insane.
Oh my God.
There's a cool live video of it, and you can see me in the front row just
dude.
getting down.
In the front row again.
I'm jotting that down.
That's awesome.
But I just really like instrumental music, and I think initially in the project I was singing, and then we started writing more complicated stuff, and then it was like I can't really I wouldn't say I'm a bad singer, but I'm definitely not a good singer. And trying to pair that with like playing difficult stuff, I was just like, I want to just like play as hard stuff as possible and not worry about the vocals.
Yeah. But
we've got one track on our last full length that has vocals that I laid down on like the final track. It was I wrote this kind of like folk song, and then we kind of like built themes off of that on that album. So there's these like crazy blast beat sections with like tremolo guitar that are doing the chords and melody of this folk song that the album closes with. So that was just kind of like a fun writing project. But
that was fun to play live.
Yeah, we got to play with our friends, and then my friend Brian Ritzer, our friends, Brian Ritzer and Ben Boggs and Reggie Page laid down some saxophone and trombone.
Oh, sweet.
On it. And so we got to do that live once, and that was really cool.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and I'll jump in, not to say anything about the future, but
you always can.
Yeah, like, and it's, we don't have anything set in stone, but we've at least tossed around the idea of like, if we do want lyrics, we know a lot of great bands,
really talented
that
vocalists.
Have great vocalists. So it's just like
you could
reach out,
get someone a song or two or whatever, and
we can kind of
do harness my beautiful dark twisted fantasy energy, get some pretty cool features on some tracks with some cool vocals.
Can they please do how all the rappers, yo, this is blah blah blah, representing.
Every song will have us introducing. Yeah.
Like, all right.
Yes.
Time.
But yeah, we're lucky that we have a lot of just friends that we've made through music that are involved with all sorts of music. So integrating some different types of vocals to our kind of stuff would be a really just like trying to level up and find new ways to be creative.
Right. And the reason I kind of asked that question too, because a band that started in Michigan, they moved off to the West Coast, was Pink Sky, and they were all straight instrumentals, and then they decided at some point to add in lyrics, and they just found that was filling. But I get if it doesn't fit for you guys, or like you said, if you bring in different artists, that'd be kind of cool, featuring XYZ or whoever for that song.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like, anything, like we could fit, like if we wanted a bassist, it would fit, like if we wanted a vocalist, but it's very nice with this, and then it's like, yeah, it's always an option of, hey, let's see if we could have them do this on the recording, and like at least one, like it's nice to, once we do the album release, to have them there to play, and that's like, yeah, if we don't play it again, like at least we had that was really fun.
It'd be fun to bill with this band, then we can have this this song,
literally have them come
like
back
if
up.
we're playing in the city that this person is from, we could do that.
Yeah, that would be awesome, because they'd be like, hey, you want to do that song? Yeah, okay, cool.
But yeah, if you can kind of get it in there when it makes sense, or whatever, but it's not a every song, every time, every
right. It's kind of a special thing.
Yeah,
it's kind of
whatever, however flows together.
Yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, I do like that. So what's the next time we can see you guys live? Do you I know you've talked about there's some stuff planned out there. Is there anything you can say that's scheduled out?
So we're playing in Ohio in a couple weeks, but that's probably not super accessible to most people. But then we're going to be playing in Kalamazoo on April 6th.
The 6th.
We're playing with Ed Hockey.
Yeah.
Are you?
That band, yeah.
The band you just gushed about, you get to play with them?
Yeah,
yeah,
we're incredibly excited.
Dude.
Third time?
Oh, you did say that.
We went to see, like, I don't know, we played with them a couple of years ago, and we went to go see them.
Okay.
I don't know. Maybe.
Did you say earlier that you played with them, or you just saw them?
Just saw
few
them.
We were
times?
talking
Okay,
about
because I didn't. So you also have played with them,
though. Yeah.
What the heck?
We got like super lucky, because it was, it was just Papa Pete's, but like, I think I saw that they were coming through, and
just like
Dan
hit
Real,
it. Yeah.
hit his band Suck City, who he's been in a bunch of great bands, great musician.
Reptilian.
I was just like, dude, if there's any chance that Lucius Fox could get on, and then I think his buddy's band like had to cancel.
Oh,
so he's like, hey, dude, like I think he hit you up and was like, hey, if you guys want to play, and we're just like, yeah,
score.
Yeah, and then we got asked by Evan, who
he runs
drummer.
another kind of like DIY space in Kalamazoo, although it's in kind of like a warehouse area called the Park Trade Center. I don't know if y'all are familiar with that, but it's right in downtown Kalamazoo, and it's just this big open room on a second floor, really cool window overlooking kind of the
main, one of the main,
the new Justice Center.
That's cool.
But it's a really cool space. But yeah, we're playing there on April 6th with an amazing band, Ed Hockey.
Well, I will be on the first spring break trip I've gone on in like 30 years. So
man, I get
Enjoy.
it. Yeah, where are you going?
Hilton Head, South Carolina.
Oh heck yeah!
Never been there. I honestly have only heard that city. I didn't even know it was in South Carolina, but my wife's like, let's go find somewhere different and, interesting, unique.
I've heard it's a big spot for like the Cincinnati folks. My girlfriend is from Cincinnati, and I guess like they used to vacation at Hilton Head a lot.
I remember going to Gulf Shores, Alabama when I was in high school, junior high. Like a lot of my friends at school would go to Gulf Shores. I always felt like that was our spring break vacation spot for this area.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Good and then you mentioned you had like 5 shows in June. Where are you guys playing?
Oh yeah, so we're gonna be in Louisville, Cincinnati, Chicago, and Bloomington, Indiana, and then hopefully tacking on a Lansing or Detroit show.
Okay, sweet.
Probably on the beginning of that. So that's like towards the end of June, around like the 20th.
You guys are getting out there, dang.
Yeah, we've been really fortunate this year. We've had a lot of cool things sort of pop up. We're playing Bells in Kalamazoo on May 31st, which is sick. It's getting to play our weirdo music at Bells is always really cool.
I can imagine.
That's cool though. I think they seem like they open up to a lot of different genres and very cool space.
They've been killing it with their outdoor like summer series the past few years. There's some really great bands coming through there this summer.
For sure.
But yeah.
So anywhere that people can check you out if they're listening to this episode, where could they check you guys out to get info, whatever? I'm streaming services, I assume. Spotify, Apple Music, all Amazon Prime, all that stuff.
I think like
Bandcamp.
social media wise, Instagram is probably the most active spot that we are. We have a Facebook and stuff too. Bandcamp. That's like the spot if you want to purchase stuff. Bandcamp is the move.
There you go.
But yeah, we're on all the streaming services, and if you are ever in Kalamazoo or Lansing, you'll probably just see us around existing within the community.
You promise?
I promise.
Yeah.
All right.
You guys, this is awesome. I'm so glad you.
Thank you for having us. This is great.
Thank you for
Thanks
not
for
being
seeing
scared
us.
of it. Being like, yeah, okay, guy, we're gonna come to your house in the suburbs, into your basement, and record a
This is
podcast.
amazing. This is cool. It's a fun Wednesday night.
Yeah,
for sure.